it's Sarah, and today we are going to talk about all the books that I read in the month of August. It was only 5, so not a ton. I felt like there were more, but there wasn't. I looked. I was like, really? Only 5? I think just August felt like a very, very long month, and I thought I was gonna be reading a whole lot more, but I did kind of hit a little bit of a slump right after my readathons, and so that kind of didn't help. I was just reading, and then, you know, not wanting to read after that. So it's all right. 5 books is still good. I started out the month with Booktubeathon and managed to read 2 books. It's fine. But I read Snowflower and the Secret Fan by Lisa C., which was the first one. And this was for my birthday reading project, and I adored this book. It was so sad, and the culture was so interesting, and I found myself completely enamored with these characters and really caring about what happened to them. This book made me cry. I cried. I don't cry in books, guys, but this one got me, and it was phenomenal. So this follows 2 young girls living in China, and they are pretty much put together to be pen pals for the rest of their life. There's a certain name for them, and it is following their stories throughout their life and the culture and how things happen and arranged marriages and politics and, you know, like social status and all these things. And you kind of see them build this friendship. You see them growing up throughout the years and the different paths that they take and how it affects them and how it affects their friendship. And oh my gosh, it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. I can't wait to read more from this author. And yep, it made me cry, and I gave it 5 stars. The next book that I read for the Booktubeathon was The Language of Dying by Sarah Pinborough, and this is more of kind of a short story more than anything, and it follows a woman who is dealing with the consequences of her father having cancer, and kind of what, not consequences, but things that are happening because her father has cancer, and her family's coming back together to, you know, kind of say their goodbyes to him. And, you know, family drama happens and things get kind of told and secrets come out and stuff. And for such a short book, it really, like, a lot happened in here, and the characters were great, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Now this I also wanted to do for ARC August. I wanted to read some books that I had received as ARCs, and this one I got it from NetGalley. And unfortunately this was the only one that I read for ARC August. I had plans to read more, but it just didn't happen, so oh well. But I really enjoyed this one, and I gave it 5 stars as well. The next one I read was another for my birthday reading project, and it was I Hunt Killers by Barry Lyga, and this is the first book in a trilogy. And this one took me by surprise. I really, really enjoyed this book. This follows a young boy, and I believe he's 17, I think, and he is the son of a very notorious serial killer who has been caught and charged and is in jail for the rest of his life. And you follow his son dealing with having that stigma on him of, you know, everyone knows who his dad is, everyone knows what the situation was. And it was also very interesting because you follow parts of his childhood where his father is actually grooming him to be a serial killer as well. He's teaching him things to do. He's teaching him how to get away with things. He's teaching him how to dispose of a body and how to dismember a body. When this kid was like 5 years old, he's learning these things, and it was described as kind of like a very sadistic bring your kid to work day type thing. So it was really good. I really liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I knocked off half a star because some of the dialogue I didn't really like all that much, but for the most part, this story really captivated me and kept me guessing, and I didn't know what was going to happen. His father is awful. Like, serial killers in general are awful, but this guy was just like, woo, he was something else. And you see him as a character in it as well, not only from his childhood, but current day. And I really liked it, and the way it left off, I finished this book going, I need the next one. I need the next one now, and I'm gonna have to get my hands on it somehow. I haven't figured out how I'm gonna read it yet, but oh my gosh, it was really, really good. And the next one that I picked up is another from my birthday reading project, and that is Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. And oh my goodness, this book. Ooh, all right, Rudis Apetis is climbing up on my favorite authors big time. This book follows a family who is taking during World War II in Lithuania. And it is actually based on true events that happened with some families who were taken by the Germans and were basically put on a train and sent off to labor camps to try to work for nothing, basically, and, you know, were stripped of their basic human rights, and just, it was awful. It was so awful. And one thing I like about this author is that she writes about things that actually happened, but you don't hear about very much. You know, when we learn about World War II, we learn about Hitler, and we learn about, you know, Pearl Harbor, and we learn about the Holocaust, you know, just kind of stuff like that. You don't hear about these little side stories that were happening in other places of the world at the same time because of the war. So it's very, very interesting and very sad as well. And it was just heartbreaking to read. And this actually follows things that were happening because of Joseph Stalin. And I know who Joseph Stalin is, but I didn't know exactly what he was. I knew he wasn't a good guy, but I mean, he's up there with Hitler. And yeah, so absolutely loved it. I read this for the Booktubeathon and really, really, really enjoyed it. And I ended up giving it 5 stars. So yeah, loved it. And the 5th and final book that I read is Columbine by Dave Cullen. And this is a book that I picked out from my TBR jar earlier this year. And I read this for a Booktubeathon as well. And oh man, this book. Number one, the audiobook is fantastic. I read it, I listened to it on audio, and the narrator did a great, great job. This book was really hard. It was a hard read because I remember this event happening. I remember the shootings at Columbine. I remember watching it on the news. I remember picking up the magazines afterwards about, you know, the victims and the shooters and, you know, how this could all be happening. And this was pretty much the first really televised and followed school shooting in our history. It wasn't the first school shooting by any means, but it was the first one that was really like brought to the attention of the entire world. And just hearing about these boys who did this and kind of trying to follow the timeline was really interesting because, you know, no one was following these kids around as they were doing this. So no one really knows exactly, you know, they were here at this time, this is where they started, this is what happened. No one really knows because those 2 boys are dead. So it was interesting to see how much research went into this to try to piece together the timeline. And it was kind of like, a lot of it was explained. A lot of it was, you know, we feel that this is what happened because of this, because of where these boys were when they were found. This is most likely what happened. And yeah, oh my gosh, it was so heartbreaking. And you saw a side of the boys as well. And some, based on some of the evidence that they found, you know, things that they were thinking and things that they were feeling. And it was heartbreaking. So heartbreaking and just, oh yeah. And I also really liked that he went into things about the media and what the media did wrong and what the media did right. So very interesting. I loved it. It was 4.5 stars for me. I gave it a 4.5 versus a 5 just because it went into a couple of chapters about psychology in general and I just kind of got lost in that. So those chapters I didn't really enjoy, but yeah, I think it's a very important read. I really do. It's hard, but it was good. I'm really happy I read it. I'm going to be hanging on to this. I could see myself rereading this sometime in the future as well. And it was just a very, very well done book. So really good. Okay guys, those are all the books that I finished in the month of August. Not my best month, but that's okay. And I'm also currently in the middle of 5 books. I have started 5 books and they're all sitting on my nightstand and I'm picking one up. And it's just, I need to like pick one and focus. That's my problem. And yeah, so I will talk about those tomorrow in my September TBR because those are books I'm planning to finish in the month of September. So I will talk about those then. But yeah, So let me know down below if you guys have read any of the books that I talked about. Let me know what you guys read in August. What was your favorite? Did you have any disappointments? Even though I only read 4 books or 5 books, they were all 4.5 or 5-star reads. So no complaints, right? I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you again soon. Bye.